Good morning, I'm Adam Sexton. Primary voters head to the polls in little more than a week. For Democrats statewide, the biggest decision on the ballot is who to nominate for governor. The top two in the polls join us this morning. We'll start with Executive Counselor Cindy Warmington. Counselor.
Good morning.
Good morning, and thanks for being here.
Pleasure to be here.
So in this race right now, everyone is talking about this attack ad that's up against you. Essentially, Joyce Craig saying that you profited off of the opioid crisis through your lobbying work for Purdue Pharma. Before we get into some actual questions on this, what is your response to that ad?
I think it is just a shame that Joyce Craig has dragged this campaign down into the gutter. It's been a positive campaign up till now. What she is doing is really deceptive and dividing Democrats at a time when we need to be focused on beating Kelly Ayotte. Kelly Ayotte is a real threat to this state. She would undermine reproductive rights. We know that she would continue with Sununu's current agenda, which is leaving us 60,000 units behind. She would continue Edelblut's voucher program. Kelly Ayotte is just wrong for New Hampshire, and we need to be focused on that right now.
Part of what Mayor Craig is pointing out in the ad is that you've taken donations from the pain care industry here in New Hampshire, the people who allegedly threw gasoline on the fire of the opioid crisis through overprescription. When you were asked about this last week in a press conference, you basically said, as an attorney, you would never advise a doctor on exactly how to practice medicine. How should voters interpret what you believe then about overprescription if you're not going to take a position on it?
Well, you know, we all wish that we knew at the time what we now know, but we didn't. And all we can do is make the best decisions we can with the information that we have at the time. As an attorney, of course, I advise people on giving them legal advice, certainly not on how to practice medicine. But in this race, what we need to really be focused on is who is it that can actually solve this crisis that we're in. And you know this issue is personal to me. My own dad struggled with addiction his entire adult life. And, you know, the shared experience of people who lose somebody that is struggling with addiction is that you not only mourn the loss of the person, but you mourn the loss of the relationship that you didn't have because of the addiction. And when my dad passed, I took all that energy and put it to work for decades to help families who were struggling with addiction get the help they need. Joyce Craig, on the other hand, failed Manchester. Her policies resulted in a 52% increase in per capita deaths due to opioid overdoses and a related 300% increase in the unsheltered population. And it's shocking to see recovery advocates coming forward now and saying that Joyce Craig not only didn't support their efforts, but actually impeded their efforts to save lives in Manchester.
More on Joyce Craig's record in a moment. I just want to circle back. When you said you didn't know what you didn't know, I mean, there already had been a congressional hearing at that point. I can remember reports on hillbilly heroin, you know, OxyContin being abused. So to say that nobody knew or you didn't know, I mean, your whole MO on the Executive Council is that nothing gets past you, essentially. You're always on top of it. Why did you miss it on this front?
Well, I don't know that I missed anything at the time. The medical community believed that this was a real advancement in treating patients. And as you know, an attorney doing work for a client, nobody knew of Purdue Pharma's lies. Shaheen and Gordon absolutely didn't know, and Bill Shaheen has come forward with a statement that this allegation is patently false and personally offensive, and Joyce Craig should really be ashamed of herself for what she's done. You know, her efforts, what she did to impede the efforts of the recovery community to...
Get more specific there. So you're talking about, you mentioned this, that you felt that she had been inappropriate with nonprofits here in Manchester. What is the specific allegation that she did?
Yeah, the specific allegations with respect to the harm reduction community is that she really impeded their efforts to do the needle exchange programs, actually having police officers come to be there to intimidate people from participating, handed out warnings when the harm reduction folks were trying to give sandwiches to those who are suffering with substance use, and then pushed them from place to place around the city. actually bulldozing encampments, moving people along, which interfered with the services, and referring to them as those people. And I just want to say this. Some of the people that I have loved most in my life have suffered with substance use disorder. And for all the people out there who have someone they love who is suffering with substance use disorder, I want them to know that their loved ones and mine will never be those people to me.
Let's turn to reproductive rights. Kelly Ayotte has said she'll not only uphold state law, she's actually going to fight for it here in New Hampshire. If you're up against her in November, are you going to try and convince voters that she is now insincere on this topic?
Kelly Ayotte cannot be trusted on reproductive rights. She has a very long anti-abortion history. When she was a U.S. Senator, she voted against the funding of Planned Parenthood multiple times. She spearheaded efforts for a national abortion ban. She helped to stack the Supreme Court to overturn Roe v. Wade, and she celebrated when Roe v. Wade fell, and now she is trying to convince the women of New Hampshire that she can be trusted with their reproductive health care decisions. She cannot, and we're going to make sure everyone knows about Kelly Ayotte's record.
So politicians do change positions, and Kelly's obviously done some evolving on this issue as well in the new political reality, but Kamala Harris, running for president right now, she's changed her position on issues like health care and immigration. Should voters assume that she's faking it too?
Kelly Ayotte's position, her anti-abortion position, is very well documented, and we're going to make sure that the voters of New Hampshire know what Kelly's position is, and I leave it up to them to decide. But Kelly Ayotte cannot be trusted on this issue. Another issue that Kelly Ayotte changed her position on is her support for Donald Trump. You know, in 2016, Kelly Ayotte found Donald Trump to be so disgusting to her that she couldn't even bring herself to vote for him. But now, after 31 criminal convictions and 91 charges and 4 indictments and 3 anti-abortion Supreme Court justices, she's all in for Donald Trump. And you have to wonder how Kelly Ayotte can be supporting Donald Trump with Project 2025, which is a real threat to reproductive freedom, how she can actually say that she maintained her position, that she has changed her stripes on the issue of abortion.
On the Democratic side, I think, you know, in the 2 years since the Dobbs decision, I'm not sure I've received a truly direct answer from any Democrat sitting in that chair to this question, which is, why does elective third trimester abortion need to be legal in New Hampshire?
There is no such thing as an elective third trimester abortion.
That's not true. It does. It's less than 1%, but it's not just the medically necessary. There are elective third trimester abortions. This is happening around the country.
Not a single case of that is ever brought forward in New Hampshire, and then there's no evidence whatsoever. It doesn't happen.
Then why does it need to be legal?
Because the threat that this ban presents is that when there are traumatic circumstances, doctors have to think twice about what their decision should be. And we don't want doctors having to consult with their lawyers before they deliver the medical care that their patients need. And when you have that situation where you have doctors that are, their licenses and their liberty is at risk, then you have a situation where they don't want to practice in our state. And that undermines our entire maternal fetal health care system. We absolutely have to do away with this ban. I will tell you that any pregnancy in this state right now after 24 weeks that does not result in a live birth is subject to investigation, and that is wrong.
I will say, you know, there's been studies in California, women who delay abortion to the third trimester due to financial reasons is usually the primary cause of the non-medically necessary ones. Just want to be clear on that it does happen.
It doesn't happen here. It never has.
Education freedom accounts. I want to get to this before we wrap up. Obviously, a lot of attention on those right now in terms of oversight and accountability. If you're the governor, you may not be able to repeal it as you want to do fully if the Democrats don't win the House and the Senate. So what can you do right away in those first few months to enforce more oversight and accountability on that program?
Well, first, I just want to say that I am very optimistic that Democrats are going to take over the State House in this election. And that is why it is so important to put the strongest candidate we have for governor at the top of the ticket so that we can win up and down the ticket. The energy on the ground, especially with Kamala Harris and Tim Walz in the presidential race, this has electrified the electorate all across our state. But you've seen me work on the Executive Council. The hallmark of my time on the Executive Council is not only that I can stand my ground, but also that I can reach across the table and find that common ground. I am going to work as hard as I can to reach out to people across the aisle, but we are, one way or another, we are going to get rid of this voucher scheme. It is really undermining and dismantling our public education system. It's driving up property taxes. Taxpayer dollars belong in our public schools, and we need to make sure that's where they are going.
All right, Councillor Warmington, thank you for joining us on Close Up, and we'll see you for our Granite State debates very soon.
Thank you.
And we'll be right back with another contender for the Democratic nomination for governor, Joyce Craig. Stay with us.